Howdy.
Howdy.
All right. So we are going to finish chapter 8 today. Announcement. I know you guys have a group meet, right? For this class? Right? Add me to it. Just kidding. You don't have to. All right. So we have class tomorrow. It's a redefined day. And we will not have class on Friday. Yes?
What if you have a conflicting schedule?
Choose the class that you like.
We don't have any Thursday classes. Like
Thursday
you have
class?
classes on Thursday that conflicts with it, you just don't have that class.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I don't think you should have classes.
It's literally just your Friday schedule, like on Thursday though.
Oh.
Yep. So you will have your Friday classes instead of your Thursday classes.
Yeah, I think I have a professor that misunderstood and he just canceled class for someone.
Okay. All right. Okay, so today we are talking about operant conditioning and some other than behaviors models. I think it's going to be fun. So let's do some review together. Remember we talked about classical conditioning and operant conditioning, right? So classical conditioning, this is the learning based on repeated pairing between stimuli. So usually it's an unconditioned stimulus and a neutral stimulus. Example would be Pavlov's dogs. For operant conditioning is the learning based on the consequences of your behavior, which alters your future decisions. And one example would be the Skinner's box. Yes?
For the Skinner's box like situation, is the bird getting the food the positive reinforcement?
Yes.
For doing the task?
Yes. All right. Okay, so make sure you remember punishment is you're trying to decrease the behavior and reinforcement is you're trying to increase the behavior. Last time at the end I kind of got confused too. Like punishment, I was thinking about punishment in like common sense, like punish something or punish someone.
Common terms.
So yeah, common terms. So that's not the case. Make sure you remember that. Don't get confused. So shaping, we said that we were going to talk about this today, right? Mm-hmm. So shaping is the when we reinforce successive approximations of the target behavior until the target behavior actually occurs. It might sound a little bit abstract right now, but when I show you the video, it will be very clear. So some examples will be how Skinner trained his pigeon and how people train dog. Okay, so here is a video.
In this demo, I'm going to have my dog put her front feet in the box, but I'm not going to tell her what I want. Watch and see if you can tell how she learns.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Have you figured it out yet? She's learned by trial and error learning. When she did something and it worked, she repeated it. When she did something and it didn't work, she tried something else. Trial and error learning is also known as operant conditioning. Animals learn by operant conditioning every day. It's how they learn which behaviors to repeat and which to avoid.
Okay, that makes sense, right? So shaping is a type of operant conditioning, and people usually use that to train their dogs or even their children. Okay, so schedules of reinforcement. So this is how often are the reinforcers delivered. Continuous, it means that when the reinforcement of a behavior every time when it occurs. Intermittent, this means that the reinforcement of a behavior some of the time instead of every time. We're going to show you some example for each one. So intermittent schedules can vary based on ratio or interval. So ratio is the number of behaviors required to receive reinforcement. And interval is the amount of time during which reinforcement is available. So one is the number of behavior, the other one is the amount of time. Again, I'll show you some examples to help you understand this. So based on ratio and interval, intermittent schedules can be either fixed or variable. Fixed means that the intermittent schedules when ratio and interval remains the same. A variable means when the ratio and interval changes, so they're not the same every time. Okay. So here are some types of intermittent schedules. Fixed ratio schedules. This is when the reinforcement delivered after a set of number of target behaviors. One example would be workers get paid by how many shoes they produce, right? Let's say when they produce a pair of shoes, they get $1. 2 pair of shoes, $2. So that's fixed ratio, depending how many times they perform that behavior. They'll get that reinforcer. Okay. And then we have variable ratio schedule. This is when the reinforcement delivered after a fluctuating number of target behaviors. One example will be gambling. So casinos let gamblers win once a while after they play a couple times. So they don't win every single time, right? Even though they play, they perform that behavior, they only win once every other time or once for a while. So that's variable ratio schedules. Next, we have fixed interval schedules. This is when the reinforcements are delivered after a set of time span have passed since the previous reinforcement. For example, I get paid at the end of each month, or some people get paid every Wednesday of the week or every Saturday of the week. That's fixed interval schedule. And variable interval schedules is when the reinforcements are delivered after a fluctuating time span has passed since the previous reinforcements. And one example will be weathers. Like there are certain days which rain each month, but randomly. So we don't know how when it's gonna rain. Right? Okay. Does that make sense for the 4 types of intermittent schedules? Okay. So you just need to remember whether it's interval or ratios and whether it's fixed or variable. Okay, now let's do some practice questions together. So the radio station KNU gives away gift certificates daily, but they found that the same listeners are calling in and getting the certificates. As a result, KNU implemented a rule that the same persons cannot win again for 30 days after a win. What kind of example is this? Say that again?
C.
Okay, fixed interval, very good. So it's fixed amount of time, right? Okay. Abdul is a door-to-door insurance salesman. He finds it hard to predict his daily sales. Some days he sells one policy for every 3 houses he visits. On the other days, he may sell one policy every 20 houses. Abdul is being rewarded on what schedule?
B.
Okay, all right, very good. So fluctuating number of behaviors, okay? All right, very good. So question, which is the best way for people to learn? What do you guys think? Or does the textbook tell you? Yes?
Well, I feel like it would be a fixed ratio, fixed interval, just because I know or not repetition, but like doing things consistently usually tends to help with things, so I'm not sure about that.
Okay, so you said fixed ratio or fixed interval or both?
Both of them combined.
Both of them combined? Okay, so you think getting consistent rewards will help people learn? Okay, that makes sense. Any other idea? Yes?
I would say maybe only like fixed ratio, because maybe some people don't work well over time and they only put a certain amount of effort in over like the amount of the work.
Okay, so fixed ratio, you said? That kind of makes sense, right? Because if you get paid every month, it doesn't matter how much you work over the month, you might not try as hard.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, I get that. Any other thoughts, opinion? Anyone think it's variable ratios or variable intervals? No? Not a single person?
It can't be that, because like, it's inconsistent, so it's like, when you're trying to teach your daughter something like that, you
Uh-huh.
want to punish them every time they go pee outside, you give them a treat, not like every other time or something like that, you know what I, or just like randomly, you know what I mean? Then they won't
Uh-huh.
understand it. But I
Gotcha.
guess it's a little bit different for humans, because you
Mhm.
like, teach them in English, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, on the contrary, those are the 2 ways people learn the best, actually.
Well, why is that?
I'm going to show you why. So, for variable ratios, people get rapid results. People learn quickly, such as gambling. They develop that habit because of that urge to get something, but they don't know when this is going to happen. And that's why gambling is addictive. Like people wants to do these things because they don't know when they're going to get the next reward. Does that make sense? Okay. And then variable interval, this is slower, but it helps us to develop long-lasting habits. And I'm going to give you some examples. It might sound counterintuitive, right? But, okay, so let's say I don't know which day will rain, so I will bring umbrella every day. So I'm prepared, right? So you develop this habit that's long-lasting because you don't know when this is going to happen. Can you think of any examples of using the variable interval schedules in life? This actually happens. Yeah.
Like pop quizzes.
Pop quizzes, very good.
Like you know that you don't know when you're gonna have the quiz or over what materials given in the past. You just review
Exactly.
everything.
I have that right here. So
Hey.
pop quizzes occasionally will prevent people to skip classes or they're not prepared. So they're always prepared, right? Because they don't know when this is going to happen, and that's like a long-lasting habit, at least for that semester, right? Right? That's why we're going to start doing pop quizzes for this class.
God, please no.
Do you guys want that?
No.
No. Okay, why not? It helps you.
Too much on my plate.
It keeps you accountable for every class, so we don't skip classes. What about online students? What do they think? Okay. We'll see. No? Okay. Yes?
I just want to clarify, so variable ratio is better for learning? 'Cause it looks like fixed ratio has a faster response.
So what if you don't get that reward that one time? You stop doing it, right? Do you see this gap here?
Mhm.
It's really you could see that it goes down a little bit.
So right here, it goes all the way up. You don't have that gap. Because when you develop that addiction, you don't need that reward to continue
Okay.
that behavior.
So
So it's learning without needing reinforcement, kind of, I guess.
Kind of.
Basically, you have to get
Well,
it.
compared to this two, this one is definitely more rapid, and it's more addictive. Yes.
Would an example of the variable ratio be like taking practice tests?
Can you elaborate
So
on
like
that?
before you study, like taking the practice test and like seeing which ones you get wrong and then not wanting to get them wrong again.
And you said that's a variable ratio?
Yeah, so like you want to get questions, like getting the question right would be the reinforcement, but you're not getting it right every time.
Okay, so are you saying the missed questions? Like which one would be the reward for you? Like the
reward
correct
would be
answers?
getting it right.
Okay. I guess you could say that, but what if you get it right, like all of them right the first
Before
time?
you study.
For
You're
instance, so,
using that to learn the material.
okay, so you're assuming that people won't get everything right for the first time. Okay, if that's the case, and you think getting right is rewarding, yes. Some people may not think that if they get it wrong, if they don't care, that wouldn't be variable ratio. Okay, very good. Yes.
So it's like the attendance grade, would that be a variable interval?
Attendance grade for a variable
Yeah, like having to show up and like right on.
ratio? That should be
interval.
fixed ratio because every time you show up, you get 1 point for your attendance, right? It's not like you attended. Let's say if I give extra credits occasionally for attendance, that will be variable ratio. Does that make sense? Okay.
I have a good example for like the variable in ratio, but like for attendance. So in
Okay.
one of my classes, my professor gives you bonus points depending your attendance, and he picks random attendance from different random like classes. So each attendance is like a point,
Mm-hmm.
and he picks 5 random samples of all the classes we've had throughout the semester until that point.
Uh-huh.
And if you're there for all those occasions, you get those 5 points.
Okay, cool. I do this sometimes. Towards the end of semester, people start to not show up to classes, and I start notice, okay, we only have few people here today, and I will give extra credit to that people who attended class that day. This happens towards the end of the semester. Usually, people are pretty good at attendance in the beginning of the semester. But I will give you an extra credit opportunity today. I'm going to talk about that. Okay, pop quizzes. You guys get the idea, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys want more examples to discuss, or are we good to move on?
Could you provide a few more? I'm still
A few more?
struggling with-
You guys should provide me a few more. What kind of variable interval?
Variable interval is like going to the gym like 3 times a week, like at a constant rate.
What? Hold up.
Variable interval. Oh no, I'm getting it mixed up. What are they called?
Okay.
Fixed intervals.
Okay. What about variable ratio? If you can give me some examples of that, could work too. Okay, I'm gonna give you some hints. So you reward kids occasionally when they get good grades. They will try to do well every time, right? That will be variable ratio, right? If you give them reward every single time, if that one time they just don't want that reward, they're not gonna try as hard. Does that make sense? Okay.
And that was for variable ratio, you said?
Yes, because getting the grades will be the behavior. Yes.
So like growing up, there was this movie like store, kind of like a Blockbuster. It
on your report card, if you got an A, you got a free rental. Would that be variable or would that be fixed? Because like every 6 weeks you get the same report card.
Wait, I don't really know that example. So you said you get a sports card?
So it was like you get a free like movie rental.
Okay.
On your report card. Every time you got an A, you bring in your report card and show them.
Like
So
for
you get the
kids?
same, like report card every 6 weeks.
Like the A is for your grade?
Like your letter grade.
Okay. And then you show them your letter grade A, they will give you free rental?
Yeah. So like you got like 3 A's that semester for that 6-week mark. You get 3 movie rentals.
Okay. So I would say that's fixed ratio within fixed interval. You said every 6 months, right? Every
It was like I think 9 weeks.
9 weeks? Okay. So within that interval, it's fixed ratio. Because every time you get an A, you get a free rental. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Shouldn't be too hard if you are confused. Find more examples, or you can ask us, or your classmates or your group mates. Okay. So question, what kind of schedule of reinforcement is in place in the basketball game or soccer game? When they shoot, they score. This one should be pretty easy. Fixed ratio? What do you guys think? Okay, very good. Because every time the ball goes in, they add points, right? Okay, very good, very good. So this is extra credit opportunity. So how to use classical or operant conditioning in real world? You can target any type of behavior, and you need to be creative and authentic. So don't copy from the internet. Try to do this or think of ways you can use this in real life. You can target human behavior, animal behavior, as long as it's creative. Okay? And you can have 4 people per group, no individual work, and provide 3 ideas in total. Or you can provide more if you want. And I will give 6 groups with the best ideas 2 extra credits towards the total grade. So it's almost like a quiz grade. And you need to contribute equally and earn equal points. If you don't contribute equally, your group teammates complain, your points will be different. The judges will be me, Emily, and some other instructors. I'm going to invite them to go over because I think we will have around 10 groups if everyone does it. So 6 out of 10 is more than half people will get this extra credit. So once you get it, type it up, submit it through eCampus, and this is due next Monday by midnight. It's not too hard. You just need to think about it, brainstorm, and then be creative through behaviors, how to use that. Shouldn't be too hard. Right? I just want to make you guys use the materials and in real life. Yes?
If they wanted to, would it just be easier to like have them use the groups that they're going to do for their final project? That way they can get used to working together? Or
So they can do that. If they choose not to, that's fine.
Okay.
It's up to them.
Okay.
Yep. If you choose to work with your own group, it will be a good idea, a good opportunity to get to know your group mates. And if you don't like your group mates, through doing this, you get a good idea how to work around it when you do the final project. Or you can communicate with us and find some solutions.
and then somebody in the group chat asked, do we all submit it or just like one of them?
One of them. So it will be group submission. One of them submitted on eCampus. Everyone else will get the grades, and we know who's in the group, unless they are working with people that's different from the final project group. In that case, you will let me know. Okay. All right. Any questions? No questions? Yes.
So what if you're not one of the 6 groups that you just don't get anything?
You don't get anything. Means you're not creative enough.
Basically,
Yes.
you have like both a fixed and variable ratio? Like, let's say in like elementary school, you do something good, and you get like a box top every time you do something good, and then that goes, or like a raffle, not a box top, a raffle, and then that goes into a pot, and then someone at the end of the week gets like a prize drawn for that.
Yeah, so but that would be two events, right? You can say the whole thing includes both fixed and variable,
Yeah.
but if you were looking at that one event, you do something and then you get something, that would be fixed. At the end, there's like a lottery system, then that will be variable, right? Usually, if there's only one event, we single that out. It can be only one. Okay. All right. Very good. Other questions? Oh, so if you choose not to do it, not to compete, other people will have a better chance to get that extra credit. This actually happened one year. Half the class, they just decided not to do it, and the other half, doesn't matter how well they did, some people only submitted one sentence. As long as they submitted the work, they got the credit. So I encourage you to try it, at least. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about some non-behaviors models. And the one that we're focusing on will be social learning theory. So there are some exceptions to the behaviors models. It doesn't work every single time. For example, the conditioned taste aversion. This is a single experience of nausea when eating a certain food can lead to long-term disgust associated with that food.
What is that?
Okay. That's octopus in Japan. It's still alive, and when they pour sauce on it, it will start to dance. It's kind of
So it's dead but still alive?
so I think it's dead, but the nerves are still reacting.
That's cool.
I don't know, it's kind of cruel to me. But you get the idea, right? Taste is one exception. After you conditioned it, that one experience will break that conditioning. Okay?
Can it be that like you've had the same food for a while, but then there's that like halfway through like your life, there's one experience that just can completely ruin it, or is it like
Yeah.
the first experience?
Yeah, you have to, so what I'm talking here is after you conditioned it. Let's say you love eating apples, but this one time you ate a bad apple and you found out there's half of the worm in the apple and the other half is in your stomach. And you're so disgusted by it, you will not eat apple for a while, right? Does that make sense? Okay, latent learning. This is the learning occurs in the absence of reinforcement. It only becomes clear when the person has an incentive to display it. I'm going to show you some examples. So one example would be directions. You might learn the way to your friend's house without noticing by sitting in the car instead of driving until you need to drive there by yourself one day and you notice, oh, I actually know how to get there. That's one example for latent learning. Another one will be cognitive map. This is kind of similar to directions. So you have mental representations of the environment, such as learned maze or 3D shooting games. You get familiar with the environment, but you don't notice that. When you play the maze, you get better at it every single time you practice, but you don't really know, okay, how exactly I learn, do I turn here or there, but you have this cognitive map. How many of you play the shooting games? Oh, some of you? What about other games like RPG games when you have a map? Do you have a question or?
No, I'm just raising my hand.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So RPG games are the same. You get familiar with the map
The orientation
gradually.
and everything.
Yep. The first time you play it, it's kind of hard to know where to go. But after a while, you get familiar with it. You can just go the place that you want to. Okay. You guys understand latent learning? Okay. All right. So that's another exception of the behaviors models. So social learning theory, we have three things to talk about. First is the observational learning. This is the learning by watching others. And this is also called social learning. Inactive learning is learning by doing. So after you observe, you have to do it to learn it. That will be inactive learning. In both cases, you will need a model. So modeling is the process of observing and imitating the behavior of others. This happens a lot for kids. They imitate the adults, right? Yes.
Is this like the saying "monkeys see, monkeys do" come from?
Monkeys, I don't know.
You've never heard that saying? Monkeys see, monkeys do.
Oh, okay. I never heard of it, but I understand what it means. Yep. And I'm going to show you one example just like that. How many of you guys know about the Bandura's Bobo doll? Okay, some of you. Okay, I'll show you a video. So they have two groups, a violent group and a control group. They want to observe whether the kids will learn people's behavior, adults' behavior. Also, modeling, it works best for two conditions. One is the kids, see the person as a positive model. And they see the model's behavior getting rewarded. When those two conditions are met, modeling happens a lot. Okay. So here is Bobo doll experiment.
In 1961, American psychologist Albert Bandura set out to see how far just watching other people influences our behavior. Bandura chose to study aggression. At the time, the widespread view was that watching violence reduces aggression. It purges us. But was this true? To find out, Bandura experimented on small children, aged 3 to 5. So what Bandura did is he put an adult in a room with a child and a bunch of toys, including something he called the Bobo doll, which is a giant inflatable doll. Then what happened after about a minute, the adult unexpectedly started beating up the doll in really quite a vicious manner, shouting, screaming, kicking, hitting with a hammer, and went on like this for about 10 minutes. What would the child do if after watching the adult they were left in a room on their own with the same toys? Ooh, she really is going for it. She's doing exactly the same as she saw the adult do. She's lifted the doll up and now she's really hammering it. She's got a little hammer out and she's having a go at its toes now. Shows innovation, if nothing else. Every child who watched the adult being violent copied much of what they'd seen. The closest imitation was when a child observed an adult of the same sex. Now he's got a gun out and he's using that, a combination of the gun and the hammer, to just whack the doll. He's got a very aggressive expression on his face. Importantly, another group who had watched an adult play gently played calmly, showing no signs of aggression. Basically, what the children saw, the children did. This was an utterly unexpected finding. Before Bandura did this experiment, psychologists thought that seeing somebody else acting out a violent scene would be cathartic, it would sort of purge you. But what this clearly demonstrated, and really shocked people at the time, is that actually what happens when you see something doing violent actions, you tend to imitate them.
Okay. Question?
So with like modeling, like in this case, they're probably looking up to the parent or the adults to see what they're doing, like they're trying to learn from them. But in modeling, if the person that you're learning from is not, like, you don't have a positive interpretation of them, are you less likely to do the thing that they're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So when you see the model as positive, you're more likely to behave what they behave. But if they don't know whether this is positive or negative, it's possible that they still learn the behavior, but it's compared to a positive model, it's less likely. Yes.
Do you know the arguments like video games make children, like kids, more aggressive, like the shooting games and all that stuff?
What do you guys think?
Well, like, is that theory that saying based off of like this idea?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. I think their argument is the video games make them more violent internally, but this is suggesting that they learn the behavior, but they don't know that they're getting violent.
Okay, so it's more like they don't. This is like they're not aware that they're being that violent.
Maybe. I don't know if they're aware like for the kids, but it's two different phenomena.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I saw another hand back there. No? Okay. All right. Do you guys use TikTok or YouTube?
Yeah.
Who uses TikTok? Oh, that's a lot. What about YouTube? Pretty much everyone, right? And you see a lot of pranks, right? Do you think that TikTok pranks and YouTube pranks are bad?
Yes. I can say that.
Yes. Okay. They're interesting, right?
Yeah.
They're super fun.
Really?
Well, some of them they're pretty creative, right?
Yeah.
I used to enjoy it.
I have a little cousin like that saw a prank that was like not bad, but it was like, okay, why did you like made us worry a little bit. I was like, he's like, oh, I saw it on YouTube or on TikTok. I'm like, that's why I was like, I understand the concept, but yeah, it can be dependent like the people that's watching it. I feel like for us adults that already have an understanding of like what's good or bad ish, we know that's just a prank, but for the like kids, like think that's maybe real.
Okay. Okay. So do you guys know the prank that they have like a clown killing people? It went viral for a while, and then scared people away. And there's another one, they try to pretend that they're Muslim, and they drop something, and then they yell like la la la, and then run away, scare people. Have you seen those? Those have been like very viral. So they are actually very bad influence to people. It doesn't matter if you're kids or adults. There are two cases recently. I embedded a link here. So one is a boy who murdered his neighbor for TikTok. He wanted to be TikTok famous, and then there's just like a bunch of incidents, and then at the end he ended up killing the neighbor. Another one is a robbery prank gone wrong. They pretend that they're gonna rob people. I think it's in Texas, and then this guy got shot to death. And they said that, oh, I learned it from YouTube. It's a prank. It's a prank. But you get the idea, right? And nowadays, for those influencers, you guys know influencers, right? In order to get more fame and money, they need to find ways to be creative, to catch people's eyeballs, incentivize them to do crazy stuff. And kids, even adults, will try to imitate that. It's just not good. Some of them are good influencers, but I want to say more than half or majority of them are bad influencers. So just be careful for what you watch on the internet, especially kids. If you know people who are young, your cousins, your nephews, or just make sure they don't learn from this. Okay, so here is an example for modeling in monkeys.
Back in the 50s, a young female took a potato thrown onto the beach and washed it in a stream. It was the first time this behaviour had ever been witnessed, and slowly it spread through the group, with youngsters and females keen to follow her lead, and the grown males least interested to learn. Later, a monkey discovered how to separate wheat from wet sand. She threw fistfuls of the mix into the sea, and then she could pick up the floating wheat while the sand grains sank. It's simple but effective, and soon the whole troop had learnt her trick, and even seemed to like the salty taste. More recently, this group have learnt from each other how to eat shellfish, even how to swim, and each new generation picks it up by watching and imitation. Together, all these innovations build up their common knowledge, and that's what we call culture, whether we're talking monkeys or humans. It's quite something to think that just a few weeks ago, I was watching dancing cranes in the snows of Hokkaido, and now I'm sharing a sandy beach with Japanese macaques and we're in the same country. These extremes reflect Japan as a whole, urban and congested, yet also silent and wild. Whilst plundering the seas, they brought back cranes from the verge of extinction and preserved whole islands like this one for wildlife.
Okay, so you get the idea how people observe or how animals observe and learn. Okay. We also have the learning from failure. This is called learned helplessness. This occurs when an individual is repeatedly subjected to an aversive stimulus that it cannot escape. Eventually, they will stop trying to avoid the stimulus and behave as if it is utterly helpless to change the situation. Can you think of any examples of learned helplessness? Yes?
But I think you're really bad at the test and like you're doing that all like over and over again. You just stop studying.
So you said it failed the test?
Like you keep doing bad in class. And
Okay.
you finish the test and you just decide not to study because it won't change anything.
Yep, so you keep doing bad in classes, right? That's very good. So in education, repeated academic failures result in stop trying. And people, if they keep getting things wrong, they keep messing up on homework or exams, eventually some kids stop trying, right? What else? Very good. What else? Yes?
Wasn't there like Sullivan's experiment with the dogs in the cages where like they would shock the dogs and like a light went off or something like that, and then after that they just like started doing the shock at random times. And they even opened up the doors and they just like didn't even try and escape the cages or something like that.
Exactly. So if in the beginning they will prevent the dog or other animals, they have done like some cruel studies. They shock them, but they won't let them escape at all. After a while, they let them escape and they won't. So that's learned helplessness. Okay. So this is very important. If you see someone who doesn't try anymore, like maybe people try to lose weight, maybe people try to work out or something, they eventually fail so many times, they stop trying. That's learned helplessness. Sometimes it's easy for people to say, oh, you just don't try, it's your own fault. But this is actually psychological, and we need to find ways to prevent that and treat that. Okay, so that's pretty depressing, but I'm going to show you something funny to end the class, to lighten the mood a little bit. So this is also an example for learned helplessness.
Buddy, come on. Come on. Come here, buddy. Come on. Come on. Come on. You can come through. See, watch. Watch. See, watch, buddy. See? See? Come on. Come on. You can do this. Come on. Buddy, come. Come here. Buddy, come. Come here, buddy. Come on. Come here. You gonna come? Come here. Come here, buddy. No, that's me, buddy. Come on. Come on. You gonna come? Come on. What if I got you a biscuit? I got you a treat. What if I got you a treat? A bacon strip? Come on. It's okay. Oh my gosh. You were in the house. Okay. Good boy, sit. Okay, good boy.
Have you guys seen this in real life?
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes they don't recognize glass, and they will learn this helpless behavior. Okay, that's it. If you don't have any questions, I will see you tomorrow. Yes.
Are there like specific techniques to help people who have learned like health before?
Technique?
Like, I'm just curious. Like, I feel like that would be a part of, like, I guess, medical psychology or something, or psychiatry is like helping people who have health.
Yeah, so there are different types of therapies.
Okay.
We have cognitive behavioral therapies, a bunch of them, but we can talk about that later when we talk about pathology. Yep.
All right. But it is possible to treat learned illness.
It's possible, and it also depends on the person. Yep.
It seems especially with like college students, and like if they have learned helplessness for like grades and trying, like that's a really dangerous situation.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they don't know that, so they just let them drown.
Okay.
So, yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.